There are things in this world that are just satisfying to do, even if they don't really make sense at times. This game can easily fall into that category, but will that feeling wear off as you go through it? That's what I'm here to find out. Unpacking released on November 2nd, 2021 for the price of $19.99 on the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Windows, macOS, and Linux, specifically through Steam, GOG, and the Humble Bundle Store, but is also available on the Xbox Game Pass. It's developed by Witchbeam, whose previous game may be familiar to some, as it was Android Assault Cactus. But before I begin this review, this key was obtained from the developer for the purposes of review. That won't change my opinion of the game in the end, but you should know that because of FTC guidelines, as well as the whole morals thing, you know? For the purposes of this review, I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. A highly edited review of 10 to 20 second clips isn't going to cut it for this game because of the fact that the cycle of the game is so important. The step-by-step element is important to not only the gameplay itself, but the overall feeling that I can show you in this video. So, I'm going to replay the third stage of the game, and each stage is a year of the protagonist's life. So, 2007 in this case. Now, who is the protagonist? Well, it's supposed to be you, but we don't really know a lot about you. We know that you will have a name that you put into the game, but we don't know if you're male or female at first. We don't know if you're Caucasian, African American, Mexican. We don't know what your hobbies are at first. As I will allude to later on, there are clues in the game that tell you a little bit about yourself and about the people that you may be living with. So, each stage is a year of your life, like I said, but it is specifically when you're moving into a new location. So, for example, it could be a college dorm room. It could be your childhood home. And in this case, it could be sometime after college. We don't know exactly what year in college, or maybe it's still in college. But just based off the clues, I want to say just right after college. And in this case, we have a 3-bedroom house with a kitchen, a dining room, living room, and a bathroom. Now you'll notice that 2 of the bedrooms are grayed out. That's because those are roommates, and you're not going to move into the rooms of your roommates. That's what this room is for, your bedroom. So we have to unpack our stuff into a house that already has some things in it. And the different scenarios that the game presents is a good amount of variety in those scenarios, but there is some commonalities between them. And I do like how the game twists the gameplay just a tiny bit from moment to moment in terms of those stages to really get the most out of this cycle. So for example, in this case, we're not going to be able to move their stuff. I mean, the fact is, that's their stuff. We're not going to be able to move the razor here because even if though you want to put your razor there and move theirs, the game's not going to allow it. But in some cases, it may. If you are moving into a house with someone else, a significant other, maybe it'll allow you to do that. Maybe you have to move your stuff to accommodate them. And that's cool. That's interesting. It's an interesting take on things because it could have just been a simple, Animal Crossing like puzzle game, but it isn't. So, how do you unpack? Well, simple. Open a box with a left click, take an item out, and figure out what you want to do with it. In this case, I got a DVD. I could place it anywhere. Well, almost everywhere. So I can place it on the desk, I can place it on the couch, on the floor. I can place it, let's see, I can place it on the toilet. Now, granted, if it comes to the end of the items that you need to move in with, the game will judge what items you placed. So if you placed a DVD on the toilet, it's going to say, yeah, no, that's not going to work. You don't want to get your copy of Police Academy in, wet. I mean, who wants a wet Police Academy? Now, there are certain interactions with the environment as well. So this DVD with a bookshelf will stand itself up in certain cases. And that's nice. That is a nice little touch. And the fact is, seeing all those items and seeing them come together can really work in terms of giving you an idea of how this person is living. So, for example, if you see all these, you know, PS3, PS4, I think these are PS3 games, all coming together here, then, well, it seems like they're a little bit more organized. And the fact is it looks like they're color-coded it, looks like they've got, you know, certain things filled out. So you can start to learn a little bit about the person and a little bit about yourself, too, and how you like to organize things. Like this doll, this is Salt Android Cactus doll, which is the developer's previous game. Yeah, I could place it with the, I don't want to say Sailor Moon, but Sailor Moon-like outfit here. But I could also move it over to the Gundams. Yeah, looks, it's a little bit more Gundam-like. We'll put it with that. Certain items make a lot of sense to keep in the room that you are in. So the Dungeons and Dragons like book here, it looks like maybe a 5th edition, you know, with the dice here, with the pens and the character sheets, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, same thing with this guy. Same thing with this guy. Maybe same thing with this guy. And you can see that this starts to develop, you know, certain patterns. But here, we have this book, this drawing book, and really, it makes a lot more sense, well, at least I know it makes a lot more sense to me, to put it where my actual drawing place will be. And that's where you can develop your character a little bit. Figure out, oh, hey, this character is a artist. This character is messy. This character really likes family, so they put, you know, postcards above their bed so they really appreciate where they've gone and what they've done with their family. They place the music right in the drawer so they can grab it. And it's fun to think about what character you're making and what character is in this world. Will they keep their toothbrush separate from the other people's toothbrush? Who knows? And I know that's a little bit of a different type of storytelling that other people are used to, but not a lot of games only focus on that type of storytelling. The fact is, they will usually include other types of storytelling. They'll include, you know, actual monologues. They'll include some backstory. Here, the game really relies on this to make your own story, and the more creative you are, the more fun it will be in this case. Now, interactions with these items make a lot of sense, and you have a lot of ways you can do things. So I could put all these items on the floor right away and organize them and figure out what I have before I actually place them. Granted, if I end the day, it's going to be like, yeah, no, not all this shit can be on the floor. But if I'm moving things around, maybe I want to figure out how many plates and, you know, bowls I have before I decide to place it. Maybe I'll do it one at a time. It's up to you in many cases, and frankly, I like the fact that the game doesn't force you into one specific scenario. There's also item interactions. So you can see here, I try to open this cabinet to put the bug spray, and I can't because there are plates in the way. So now I gotta move those plates out of the way in order to open that. Granted, I don't think I can actually put that bug spray in there, but, you know, it's a nice option. Now, one of the things I really do appreciate about this game is its level of detail. The fact is, they went into a lot of detail about the little things in a person's life. Like, you know, putting the brush there. You know, putting the shampoos. You know, this shampoo looks sort of Head & Shoulders-ish. Maybe a brand that you may know, but obviously it's not branded for a specific reason. It goes into a lot of detail for things that really, in the end, seem almost absurd. For example, let me grab... Did I put that stuff away? I don't remember if I did. There is a spray bottle I was looking for, but we'll use the cookie jar. Just listen to the interactions with the cookie jar in multiple rooms of this house. I'm not going to say anything. Just listen. The amount of files, the amount of sound files, it has been indicated that it's about 13,000 sound files of those interactions. That's insane, in my opinion. And it's done for a reason. It makes it feel more lived in. It makes it feel realistic. And a game like this, that's important. The fact is that immersion that you get from those sounds may take you back to a time that you moved in. Maybe you decided that, you know, I like that sound. I like the sound of that tile in the bathroom. And maybe it brings you back to some, you know, memories of the past. Now, with that said, that level of detail does have a cost. And I will get to where my issues with that detail is in a little bit. But let's also talk about the just general presentation. Like I mentioned, the recognizable elements of this game are amazing to me. I mean, the fact is, what is that doing in there? I'm getting to a certain item in these boxes here. Give me a second. I'm looking for a particular famous console. Ah, there we go. See, we got those old Gamecube controllers and the Gamecube itself. It's amazing how many pixels can make you recognize something of your past. And the fact is, things like the actual Gamecube games, having that little blue element on the bottom, you can recognize that cube. They put a lot of time and detail into that. And I really do appreciate it. I do appreciate how this shirt folds up, how it, you know, if it's placed under or on a hanger, how it unfolds, how it makes it seem, well, real. And I do like the fact that, like, you have multiple hangers of different color types, different shapes, different, you know, the plastic parts that you can see. They could have easily just made one blue hanger and just went with that, but they didn't. And they could have, you know, not included that, but that's what real life is. That's what the real elements of this game is bringing to the table. I mean, the fact is, this color of this Intel Pentium 3 computer from you know, 2007, it's a little bit scary how well it matches that era. I mean, I remember being in my parents' basement and, you know, playing on something like this with the purple buttons and that sort of ivory yet not really color. And it really captures some nostalgia for me in a lot of good ways. Almost scarily, in fact. Now, the gameplay itself, it's rather simple. The fact is, you're placing items in a area. There's a little bit of puzzle elements, but a lot of what you're going to get an enjoyment out of is the little interactions in this game. Things like this. Oh, look at that. Make a dab? No, I'm not a boomer. We'll just make it basic there. Finding those little interactions with the world and what you can do with things. Finding those achievements, like, I'll, you know, spoil one right now. What would happen if you put a toilet in a toaster in a bathtub? Granted, you can't fill up the bathtub in this game, but, you know, it's something to think about. And seeing those little interactions go a long way into being like, oh, you know, that was a clever use of that, you know, trope, or that was a clever use of a particular item in question to make it feel real. And I'm going to say it. I really appreciated that. I really appreciated the detail. There's just one problem with that detail. And it's something that I think a lot of people will allude to from the gameplay side of things. There are about 10, 12 levels in this game. And the fact is that for the cost of the game, I think it's appropriate. I think it's appropriate for certain people in the game. But I will not sit here and tell you that the game necessarily has a lot of replay value. Don't get me wrong. There are certain things that this game does well in terms of exploring things about yourself. For example, if you don't know, I'm OCD. I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I'm technically ADD with OCD tendencies, but it's mostly the same thing. And you'd think that somebody like me would have some problems with this game, especially with the items in question. The fact is, I can't place items everywhere. I can't place a boot, you know, where it doesn't necessarily belong. I can't move other people's stuff, even though it may drive me insane. But the thing is that there's something about this game that does a great job of not making me stress about that, even though that is something that normally I would stress about. It has the relaxation element to it, and I really do appreciate how well it plays into that. With that said, once you've beat the game and played all of its levels, there's not much else to do. The fact is, going back and maybe doing things in a different way doesn't get a reasonably different result in any case. The fact is, oh, you just did it in a different way. I really wish the game would have maybe played off a little bit more of what you did. Like, you know, maybe commented at the end of the day when it does its little album thing, as you can see here. Classes start Monday, uni, here I come. Maybe if it's a little bit more messy, maybe items are all over the place, maybe it could have said something else. But the fact is, it doesn't do that. And it's weird because it does actually get the storytelling of the game right in terms of discovering things about yourself. The thing is, it doesn't tell you everything, but, you know, I've got a skirt here. I've got, you know, some button-down shirts, but I have a bra as well. Maybe I'm a female. And if I look at some of the items I get later on, I think, well, maybe I'm somebody of Asian descent just based off of typical stereotypes. You know, I like the 3 miles home out here. I like, you know, hangers of all different types. I like, you know, some blue jeans and a sweatpants, you know. It's those kinds of things that give me hints about things, but unfortunately, it ends at a certain point where it's just like, okay, this is the story of this person's life. That's it. End of game. It really hurts me to say this because I want to get across the fact that based on what I played, I think it's worth the time and a mission here for some players. But I think the game missed an opportunity. And what is that opportunity? To allow that storytelling to be told by others. The fact is that I'm not going to sit here and admonish the developers for not having a create your own level version of the game. I mean, that takes resources. Yes, I could sit here and say, well, why did you spend so much time with these noises when you could have, you know, put that in the game? Different skill sets, different amounts of cost. But I'm going to sit here and tell you the idea of being able to make my own level and show you a piece of my life could have made a community around this game that would have been quite fascinating, in my opinion. And hell, maybe there is a future idea for this game in terms of, hey, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should try, you know, opening that up for other people. Because guess what? That could really be an interesting element that would be bringing more people to the game and keeping your game alive. The biggest problem with this game right now is the fact that once you're done, you're not coming back. And unfortunately, you're also probably not remembering this game in 2 to 3 years. Maybe if somebody brings it up, you'll be like, oh yeah, that game was cute. That was a cute little game. But frankly, at that point, you've remembered it somewhat, which is fine. But I hope that the developers consider adding a little bit more in the end, because that could go a long, long way to helping the game in future sales and future development. In addition, I do want to point out that there is an accessibility item here, allow items everywhere, which allows you to remove the puzzle element of the game for those who are not necessarily looking for that puzzle, but, you know, want a little bit more freeform. And the options here, the GIF save location, the resolution display mode, they're standard for the industry. The master value and the sound, you know, they're standard. Nothing, you know, to write home about. And no performance issues on the PC. I did play this on Steam, but it's also on the Switch. It's also on the Xbox Game Store, and specifically the Game Pass, which is where I think a lot of people are going to play this game. The fact is, this is the type of game that's really taking advantage of that, because some people may be a little bit concerned to pay $19.99 for a game like this. And I understand that. You know, you work hard, you want to make sure your money is really well spent, and I could understand, you know, maybe you take a chance on that, and maybe you buy it later on when it goes off the Game Pass. Probably won't, because you have played the entire game, but if it gets those other modes, maybe you do. What else do I want to talk about? I know this is more freeform than my normal reviews, but that's what this game is. It's freeform, and I think it's appropriate. Visually, I do like some of the animations, like you see the box popping off there. I do like the drawings and how, like, you know, you've got certain characters and certain elements of these worlds coming into this world that you can sort of picture your person, you know, going into the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you know, going to the Eiffel Tower, and there's a little bit of this interesting context that comes of it, you know, the color of the actual piece here, like, is it made of, you know, plastic? Is it made of a wood? Is it made of, you know, something else? It makes you think a little bit more, and I do like that. I think one of the things that I wanted to see more of is storytelling through items. There are item storytelling, don't get me wrong. So there is a particular mug here that gets a crack on it later on, and it ends up being a item that goes into the bathroom because, well, it makes sense for it to go in the bathroom because, you know, it being a mug to put toothbrushes in, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But what I mean by storytelling is there's a certain point in this game where I'm sitting there going, okay, you've had this shirt for a little bit. You know, some of these items, they get, you know, frayed or anything, but I also wish that you could do a little bit more with your character in terms of developing their personality and not just what the game gives you. Like, I wish it gave you an option at a certain point for a level to throw something out. Like, you know, you've got 15 pairs of pants. They all won't fit in here. We know that it won't. So maybe you can throw it out. So maybe you can refine your character. There were moments in this game where I felt like one of the biggest strengths was its storytelling, its offbeat storytelling, and I really wish it took it to the next logical level. Because really, not many games do this. Not many games do this in this way. And frankly, seeing a game maybe give you an option of, oh, maybe you go to a store and buy some items for your room, very specific items that you want to unpack. Maybe there's things you get rid of. That could have really put a wonderful end piece on this game that I don't think many other games could hold a candle to. Sure, you've got games, simulation games like The Sims, you got games like Animal Crossing, but there's something about this game, the way the unpacking works in terms of the storytelling. You know, these little one barbells, maybe they become 5s over time. Maybe you go and get them. Maybe your person becomes a bodybuilder. I feel like if there's any natural progression to a sequel to this game, it's there, and I want to see more of it. So I fast forward to getting rid of all the items, and you'll notice that the items that I misplaced or, you know, didn't put a correct place for show up in these little red highlights. Granted, you can change that option in the options menu, but it does give you a nice idea of, oh, hey, this is wrong. So you got to find a place for them that makes sense. Go in the kitchen here. Oh, I can put the knife near the knives? Okay, that's a little bit weird. I can't put the sponges there? Well, I guess I'll put them there. Sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's easy to overthink that because of the fact that, well, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but you are living with other people. You are living with other individuals, and maybe they have a rule set that you didn't follow. So maybe you need to figure out what you're doing wrong. Maybe I could just put the toaster or the griddle maker up there, even though nobody can actually reach it. Because, well, I'm a dick. And I'm also got long arms and tall. Therefore, I'm the only one who can get to it. You make your person evil in that way. Let's see, what else do I have to do so I can end this segment. Like these nail clippers. There are some things in this game that don't make sense when you first think about it. Why can't the nail clippers be in there? Why do they have to be there? Maybe it's not your drawer. Maybe they don't want your nail clippers in there. Maybe they're okay with you putting them right on the sink, but not anywhere else. As you can see here, my other strategy of placing all the clothes all in one area didn't work out so well. Overall, though, do I think Unpacking is worth your time? Yes, I do. I think you have a unique puzzle game that is different enough from other games in the genre, but doesn't necessarily shine the best it could in the end. The fact is, I wanted to see more of the storytelling that it is excellent at. I ended up wanting more of everything. And I understand that this is a smaller indie developer with, you know, limited resources. They couldn't make a game that's 20 hours or 30 hours. But I can't sit here and tell you that, no, I didn't want that. Will it be for everyone? No. And that's the big thing that you need to understand here. My score for this game is a 75 under 100. It is a niche title. It is definitely worth a buy for someone who likes these simulations, these little puzzle story games. But for everybody else, it's going to be one that I would be like, yeah, no, wait for a sale. Or, you know, play it on Game Pass. But everybody else, no, they may want to pass on it. And that's perfectly fine with a game like this because guess what? That's the best audience for it. And frankly, it's the audience that I honestly, I don't want to say deserves because I think a lot of games don't get the audience that it deserves, but it's the audience that will really appreciate the strengths of this game. As for my enhancer system, for people who don't know, I have a system in which I adjust the score based on your likes. The regular score is more an objective score based off the game's store page and what it was trying to do. But I tried to match the game to you based on these enhancers. If you fall into one of the following categories strongly, add or subtract that score to the main score. If the first digit of your score changes, refer to this chart to see if the game lies in the buyability rating for you. In this case, you can see that there's a lot of people who will like this game, and there are a lot of people who will be like, nah, it ain't for me. That's it for this review. If you want to leave a comment to say if this format worked for you, leave it below because, you know, that's how creators become better. The fact is, this isn't like my normal reviews, and if you are seeing this review for the first time and got this far, I thank you for that. Just don't expect that all the time. As opposed to what I'm reviewing next on the channel, that's a good question. I'm going to leave my link down in the Discord below. I do have some games that I've wanted to go back to review, and there are some games that are coming up that I do want to review that I'll request review code for. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of opinions out there, and I would like to hear them from you in terms of what to review next. I am streaming over on Twitch. These are usually indie games, upcoming indie games, or indie games that I have in my backlog. One game that continues on throughout. You know, right now I think it's Made in the Black Water from Fatal Frame. But that's it for me for now. And as always, keep on gaming. And, you know, like, subscribe, all that jazz. You know, no, just keep on gaming. I appreciate the attention, but just pay attention to the games. Okay, later.